Where do I begin to even describe this new album by JPEGMAFIA, I Lay Down My Life For You? I've been sitting with it for a couple days. I woke up the other day on Thursday, and I was going to go back to sleep, and then I saw that it came out, and I decided to just wake up and listen to it. I mean that's how much, like a father with teenagers and babies is like waking up to listen to this album. And I've had it for a few days, and I've been listening to it nonstop, and I just don't quite know. There's so much here. You know, normally I like to have what I call a framing device, sort of one way of looking at everything that I'm talking about. It doesn't have to be a thesis, but it's sort of a way of making my analysis, making my review have some sort of through line. But when I listened to this album, it just made me think of this image, and I turned it into a meme because I'm becoming an internet person. You know, this kind of thing, of a famous sort of image of an artist, of like an artist studio or a gallery, and just somebody walking through and seeing all of these paintings all over the place and just not knowing which of those pictures, which of those references, which of those frames should I use. We have this like maximal masterwork. I mean, that's what this is, right? This is an artist who is one of, if not the most interesting producer in rap right now, one of the most interesting musicians right now making music, arguably at his absolute prime. So I don't have one for you. The closest I came up with was, you know, I live up here in Rochester, New York, and we have a specialty food here. And if you know Rochester, New York, you're about to say, no, Sky, you're not going to compare this album. You're not going to compare it to a garbage plate, but I am. If you don't know, a garbage plate is this thing invented by a restaurant called Nick Tahoe's up here. It's pretty good. It's a great restaurant, totally sketchy. Their bathroom's broken. How do the employees wash their hands? Anyways, it's a great place to go. And what a garbage plate is it's cold macaroni and cheese with like tater tots on top, and then usually hamburgers or hot dogs, and then covered with a slightly spicy meat sauce. And that's a specialty up here. Everywhere you go has a different kind of plate, but it's the garbage plate. And it doesn't sound good. It sounds like it's too much is going on there. It sounds like all of these things shouldn't go together, but somehow they do. So you are lucky. You are lucky, my auditors, that I'm not going to be making a garbage plate reference. I'm not going to explain how the beginning of the album is like cold macaroni. No, none of that. I'm just going to sit here with this uncomfortable feeling of being unable to create one vision to take us through this album, which I think is, in fact, ironically, the one way to go through this album. Anything this maximal, you have to treat maximally. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who's going to run through a few of the themes, a few of the ideas that almost became the central theme that I eventually abandoned and will just allow. You know, this is not going to be like, you know, this is going to be like Voltron, you know, a whole bunch of little ideas connecting together into one big robot. And normally I try to make Godzilla videos. I try to make it there's sort of, you know, one crushing idea. Let's see all the arm legas get together here. Now, I was considering, because I'm going to be releasing my video on the Ghost Pop tape whenever I go to the hospital for my next child being born. I have some videos in the tank. I'm going to be releasing them. So I spent a lot of time with Devin Hendricks right before he became JPEGMAFIA. And I think it's pretty interesting. There's some interesting parallels you can see between them, how he's grown as an artist, how there's things in there that are still here. But I don't think so. And then there's this other idea I had, because there's so many hints in this album that he is very much like just paying attention. Like, he calls himself terminally online. I believe it. He has a sort of terminally online feeling while also hating people who are terminally online, very in keeping with a lot of the themes of this album. I'll get to in a second. And it seems as though he's really responding to the Kendrick and Drake beef. Now, I don't know what I'm going to use for my thumbnail. I do know that I was describing, you know, I was driving to the mall with my teenage daughter, you know, my baby and my wife. And I was listening to this, and I was like, you know, listen, you know, it's very challenging music, but it's very good. You know, my daughter really likes it. And my wife is sort of on the fence. I'm like, you know, it's tricky, because if you don't like JPEGMAFIA, that means you're a hoe. But it doesn't mean like in a woman way. It just means like, you know, if you can't stand this awesome avant-garde production, then that just, you know, it just makes you a hoe. So, you know, that's how I spend my Friday evenings. explaining to my wife things of this sort, and I was explaining the whole connection that I think it has with the Drake and Kendrick beef, and then my daughter, out of the back, just goes, "Oh, is it scaring the OV hose? You know, is it worth it being a parent? Yeah, there's tough times, sure. Many times. I don't want to wake up. I can't do it. I'm mad at you. I hate you, Dad. All that stuff. I don't think she's ever said I hate you, Dad, but you know what I'm saying. You know, lots of high emotions. But when your daughter comes up with scaring the OV hose, that might end up being the title of this video just because it's so funny. But what I think is more interesting than the occasional references to Drake, and he actually posted to Twitter or X or Instagram or somewhere, he had this whole thing saying how he's been attacking Drake for, 12 years or 8 years, he said. And I read the comments underneath that, and it's fascinating because most of the comments were like, who? Who are you? Who is this dude? Yeah, which is just a reminder to me that even though I spent all this time in underground rap, he's still not that well known, which is weird, which of course means that those people who are saying who, and I explain this to my family, they are hoes, right? A lot of them were saying, okay, so you've been dissing someone for 8 years with no response, that's pathetic, all that. But I don't think it's really, in my opinion, what makes it most interesting is not the ways that he calls out Drake or calls him a PDF file downloader or whatever it is we're supposed to say now. It's the way that he adopts his style from time to time. And he'll even adopt Kendrick's style from time to time. Now, album's only been out for a few days, so I'm not quite yet able to track how intentional this is or if the content of the words is intentionally calibrated to match the style that's delivered. But I will point out several times throughout this album, times where I'm like, the way he said "like that," was that on purpose? I think it was. Now, of course, the old chestnut I could go to whenever I bring up JPEGMAFIA is the semi-famous, but not famous enough for anyone to buy merch of it, Gardometer for rap beats, which is just what I use to describe rap beats, which get at the edge of listenability, but really push things forward. This album is obviously basically always on the line. This is, I think, the most interesting album of his I've heard, production-wise, and I want to explain why, because it's not the same. Scaring the Hose with Danny Brown was an exercise in sampling and samplers and how to use a 404 and how to do it super well. That was an amazing album. This album uses samples, but listen, have you thought about the guitar on this album? There's a lot of guitar on this album. Now, you might be thinking, oh, of course I've been thinking the guitar. All the heavy metal guitar. Count it up. I think it's 50-50 heavy metal guitar and acoustic guitar, I think. I think there's so much acoustic guitar on this album, you just don't notice it because, we're all kind of edgelordy, vibing out on all the weird super stuff, that's over here. But don't forget, loud and noisy does not make something avant-garde. Doing something different and new and pushing the art forward is what makes it avant-garde. I'd say the acoustic guitar is actually probably more revolutionary on this album than the electric guitar. And it's all so well used. Listen, I'm trying not to lay hyperbole on hyperbole on hyperbole, but I cannot think of rap producers who use guitar better than JPEGMAFIA. I mean, okay, maybe Rick Rubin if we want to go back to the 80s. But tell me in the comments, okay? And you will, because I really appreciate it. I'm not being facetious here. I really appreciate it because, this is just a hobby I picked up in the lobby. I'm not like a rap expert. I am actually a French professor, okay? So please tell me what other, because all the way throughout this album, it's like all these things, this is why I'm saying it's so maximalist, because all these things are happening, that it's possible that you've listened to the album 12 times and not really focused on like how good are the acoustic guitars. And meanwhile, we're listening to this really angry, big booty horse, what else? What other musical elements is JPEGMAFIA using? Strings. Where are these strings coming from? How does he get them? They sound like real strings. I don't want to lay hyperbole on top of hyperbole when it comes to JPEGMAFIA, but I don't know how to stop. Who else uses strings as well as JPEGMAFIA uses strings on this album? And I'm saying I'll wait. I don't want to wait. Tell me in the comments. You tell me what other rap producer knows how to use strings this way. He uses them like for the emotional strength they can have in all music, but also just as these unexpected textures out of absolutely nowhere. And I'm not even done going through the instruments that he's using. Okay, so I'm just vibing here, right? It's cool. I can take little pauses like that. You like that. You know I don't edit my videos. It's cool. So we got guitar, we got strings, but the real secret, and this is what I think has become clear to me this year. The real secret to his brilliance as a producer are drums. Okay, now this is a big thing to say. So I'm not going to declaratively state that I think that JPEGMAFIA is the best drum producer in rap music, because there have been some great ones, okay? Whatever, Marley Marl and Conductor Williams, you know, there's been a lot of people who know how to use drums, but I don't know. I can't think in my history of rap appreciation if I can think of anybody who uses drums in a way that makes a grown-ass man emotional the way he does. He uses these, he links together drum beats so seamlessly. He uses them well, he holds them back, he brings them in. They're not just the same thing. Sometimes I think they're real drum sets, sometimes I think they're innovative samples that he finds, sometimes they're just like bog standard rap samples that are heard everywhere. But like the only producer I can think of that makes me feel like this is a different rap producer, somebody who, this is true, DJ Shadow is famous for going into record stores and finding his records in electronic dance music and picking them up and moving them to hip-hop because he considers himself a hip-hop producer. So that's the only person I can think of who does this well with drums. You see, how do I have one angle here? Because then we're not even talking about my whole question of Gorns, right? The greatest of right now. I declared that JPEGMAFIA is the greatest producer of right now. I declared that a couple months ago. And a lot of it was based on the stuff that he did with Kanye. And what did he do for Kanye? He mostly did drums, right? So not only do I think this cements his status, you know, I'm sort of expecting a lot of turnover with the greatest of right now's year to year, you know, because that's the whole idea. It's not about the greatest of all time. But I think this moves him up the Gorn list. This moves him up my internal GOAT list, not just on the Gorn list. And then who is he collaborating with? Okay, he's collaborating with Freaky, the weird, not weird, but just the mysterious and not very present in mainstream consciousness Freaky. And then the other people he gets to enlist are Vince Staples and Denzel Curry. And it's like they have both released albums which are in the running for the best albums of the year. They are both rappers who at this point, while I'm sitting here thinking about who are the 5 best MCs right now, I am both trying to figure out where do they fit on that list. Right? Like, how did he do that? How is it a Gorn album with Gorns? We got Gorns on Gorns on Gorns on Gorns. Now, maybe the easiest way for me to approach this album was just to go by the title, okay? I Lay Down My Life For You, and the cover, all right? Let's first of all just work on the title, I Lay Down My Life For You. Maybe you don't have a lot of history with Christianity. That's cool. You know, my dad was a preacher, but he'd given up the cloth by the time I was born. So most of my knowledge of Christianity, I was confirmed, all that stuff. I've been to a lot of church. But I think most of it's kind of like culturally. But I lay down my life for you. That's a Jesus line, okay? I'm actually going to quote some of the times in the Bible where laying down your life occurs. John 15:13, greater love has no one than this, than someone lay down his life for his friends. This is an interesting idea because, as I'll get into, this album's a pretty lonely album. He doesn't really seem to have a love, and he seems to mistrust people who think he's cool. John 10:17, for this reason, the Father, this is Jesus talking about dying. For this reason, the Father loves me, because I lay down my life that I may take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have the authority to lay it down. I have the authority to take it up again. This charge I have received from my Father. So it's an interesting idea. And then we get to Romans 5. No, I'm going to skip that one. But probably the most famous one, the most famous iteration of laying down your life, comes from what has become, oddly, in American sports culture, the biggest Bible verse, the most famous, the greatest hit of the Bible. If I ask you, give me a Bible chapter and verse, which one are you going to say? What's the most famous one? What was Stone Cold Steve Austin's, right? Wasn't he a wrestler? Doesn't JPEGMAFIA love wrestling? Isn't there a thing where you hold up a sign, and what does that sign say? It says John 3:16. What does John 3:16 read? By this we knew love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. So, is Peggy saying he's Jesus? I don't think so, but I think it is an interesting theme of kind of martyrdom. I mean, if we look at the cover, if we really stay with the cover for a bit, if I were to tell you, hey, there's an image of a man in a field and he's got a covered face and he's standing next to a tall cross, you would assume I was talking about a Klansman about, at a cross burning, right? That's what this is. This is an image of a cross burning, except it's a black guy and he's not wearing a Ku Klux Klan hood. He's wearing, I don't know what that is, some kind of Japanese mask and a very shiny jacket, okay? So already just the imagery, a lot of his imagery, plays with white supremacy, and he has a very ambiguous relationship with his white audience, because he has a very large white audience. And again, that's just a numbers question. There's just a lot of white people in America. A lot of white people like rap music. Because it's the best music right now. So I think this is a fascinating image and idea that he's laying down his life. So it's sort of, I don't have an answer for you. And I'm not sure he does either. I'm not sure this is a single cohesive image. I think it's supposed to be provocative. No one knows what it means. I think it's supposed to be provocative. And I think it's supposed to get you in the mindset of somebody who is trying his best to give you everything. And in so doing, like Jesus, he is not fully appreciated, and he ends up being martyred. And a cross in a field is a sign of martyrdom for Christians, but it's also a sign of martyrdom for African Americans, because they were martyred to the Reconstruction and to the creation of a better union, right? Not martyred, they were murdered, but you know what I'm saying, right? That we have ideals in our country, and every time the Ku Klux Klan did anything or whatever, that was a sign of a failure of us living up to those ideals. And so the people who died in the name of those ideals, I don't know, maybe I'm stretching. I could be stretching. I could have also taken the tactic of just, hey, we all miss Kanye. We do. Vultures came out. I said it. I said Vultures is great and I'm not going to listen to it. I wasn't wrong. It's a great album, but I just don't enjoy listening to it because it bums me out, because I think about what happened to Ye and it just makes me sad. I'm not saying you shouldn't listen to it. I'm saying I just don't enjoy it. It is Harry Potter to me. It's just like, it's so good, but, And so I have a whole category in my head of we miss Kanye music. I really saw Travis Scott's Utopia as like the best attempt to recapture what it is that Kanye does. But let's be honest, this album, I Lay Down My Life For You, is the closest that we have to Kanye. I think it's the closest album to Kanye that's ever come out. Because not only because it's self-produced and it's self-rapped, but just the level of depth. And this is the thing. This is the opposite of bloat. This is the opposite of a bloated album that's looking for streams. Every song you could just pull apart like a piece of, like a garlic knot, and just find like 3 or 4 more songs in them. Like every song is so dense and so rich. It's not just, you're boo, boo, I got all my money, boo, I got all my money, boo, I got all my boo, right? It's not that. Everything is so rich and so dense and so complicated and so modular and so layered. And then on top of that, the missing Kanye bit is all these themes. You know, the main theme, I think, is he is a great artist and you are probably not, especially if you're, Drake or Frederick Gibbs. There's that loneliness that I'm talking about, and I think this is all kind of connected. This, to be honest, this was the closest I had to a singular thesis for this album. That, like, he is an artist who is giving so much to his art that he is not taking care of his mental well-being, and his help is basically ensuring that he is depressed. And while he's depressed, he treats people poorly, and also, because he's such a great artist, he's suspicious of everybody who's around him. He doesn't really care for everybody who's around him. Everybody who's around him, he like makes fun of and attacks. Like, I'd hate to be his friend, because I'd be like, hey, are we cool, Jo Margaret? Because, like, you said that, like, everyone's just basically a dick rider and you don't like me. That's kind of how it feels. And to that aspect, that would be one thing. But then matched with it is the constant theme of the mirror. The album begins and basically ends with a mirror. He's constantly looking in the mirror and he's unhappy with what he sees. Once again, I have to bring up Blaise Pascal, a French philosopher and scientist of the 17th century, somebody who I love very much, who talks about the unhappiness of humanity is that, we can't just sit alone in a room, that we can't, like, stare into the mirror, right? Have you ever tried? Have you ever tried just staring into the mirror? I mean, I could barely, I record on my iPhone, so I see myself while I talk. This little bit of my hair right here has been bugging me. I can't do that. Now that's an easy distraction. If I really stared at the mirror, I'd start thinking about death, I'd start thinking about myself, I'd start thinking about ways that I succeed. It's a very, very hard exercise. And the ability to stare directly into the mirror is pretty rare. I think this is an album of the failure of being able to do that. So those are all my themes. This is my garbage plate right there. It's all kind of there. And I think it all makes sense. And I think if you know this album, I assume you know this album if you're watching. I don't know how long this review is going to be. 21 minutes already. I haven't talked about a song. I hope none of you expected any differently. Okay, let me give you an example song, what I think is the best song on the album. As a matter of fact, I made another meme. I'm telling you, I'm all internet-y, right? So I made this little meme right here with the button meme, and it says, listen to all the JPEGMAFIA's new album, or the other one, listen to Ex-Military on repeat, because that's just how I felt. Like, when I heard this song, I just was like, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe how good it was. I couldn't believe how much I wanted to listen to it. You can click on it up there if you want to hear it, but you probably already have. I just replayed it over and over and over again. And why? Because it goes so many places. This is what I'm talking about, the opposite of a bloated album. This is like 4 songs in one. So many little moments of excellence. Now, of course, it's also another theme I could have brought up in this album is it's kind of a rap history album, too. He's very cognizant of making references to older music. Now, okay. Okay, my statistically most likely younger than me audience, I know, you're excited to raise your hand in class. Ooh, Professor Sky. Yes. Ex-Military is the name of a Death Grip song. Yes, thank you very much for telling me that. That's cool. I don't know the Death Grips. I know of the Death Grips. I have a Death Grips video planned. I discussed the Death Grips with my YouTube colleague, Anthony Fantano, on a live stream that we did. I've been waiting for him to release that conversation, and then when he releases that, I will do my Death Grips review. Now, it's been 2 years. We did that video at the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. So, I don't know. So anyways, release the Skyder cut, Just, that's all. When the Skyder cut is released, I will do my Death Grips take. And I'm sure it's important. And listen, I've listened to them a little bit. I understand, the mixture of heavy metal. I imagine a lot of you will say that they use guitar super great, and that that's a really great example of the mixture, sort of heavy metal and rap and all that stuff. But, I mean, it's a Wu-Tang reference. This whole thing is a Wu-Tang reference. It's a sample of After Laughter by Wu-Tang Clan, which is just like, again, I take myself back. I date myself, but I take myself back to, I don't know, I think 95 was when I first heard Wu-Tang Clan, 2 years after the album came out, because I wasn't into it, because I thought they were Chinese. And I didn't want to listen to Chinese rap music. first of all, that's ridiculous because I do want to listen to Chinese rap music, but that was how little, that was before the internet, So like they weren't in the mainstream. None of my friends listened to them. I don't know. I got to college and then I heard them and I was like, oh my God. And then I got super into it and bought everything and, et cetera, et cetera. But the first time I heard the smokiness, the dustiness, the mustiness of that beat, the sample. I mean, just now that I hear this interpretation of it by JPEGMAFIA, like I still go ha 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 almost every time that I hear the loop come in. But it's the way that he uses the loop and he mixes it in. I think, and this is a controversial take, I think he's stunting on the RZA. I do. I think he's trying to say, RZA, I love you, you're the best. I could never do anything without you. You are the absolute best. But let me just, you know that scene in Amadeus, the Milos Forman movie, where I think it's like the Prince. He writes this like little melody, and then Amadeus sits down and says, "Oh, can I try?" Oh, and then he plays the melody, and it becomes "Non più adrai" from Figaro. Bum ba dum bum ba dum bum ba dum dum. It's this whole little beautiful moment. This feels to me like JPEGMAFIA is Amadeus sitting down at the piano and just being like, "Can I give it a try?" Oh, like how can I take the sample? How can I mix it up? How can I take it somewhere just different? And he's doing this kind of whispering rapping, which again, I think this whispering rapping is imitating Drake. I think that's what it is. It's very personal and political and sort of badass. I might scratch off some numbers, but I don't play no lottery, so talking about his gun. I might break off your homegirl, but you ain't got to unfollow me. I got ex-friends, know my numbers, still turn on me. I'm her ex-man, but she pretends she never heard of me. Just sort of hard lyrics here. Even gets almost kind of Billy Woodsy here with this, with his with his international politician references. Ebrahim Raisi in the heli feeling foggy. I mean, that's a tough bar because Ebrahim Raisi was the president of Iran who died in a helicopter accident. Blowing up like I'm IDF, Nettie warrants ain't stopping ish. This is a very of now lyric. Blowing up like I'm IDF, Israel Defense Forces, Nettie warrants ain't stopping ish. So, talking about Netanyahu, who obviously is the actual issue. That's the leader that we really need to focus on, but I don't know what we do. And then goes straight into essentially a Drake reference. Is you Harvey, Jeffrey, R. Kelly, or is you opposite? Are you Epstein, Weinstein, R. Kelly, or the opposite? Say that ish, say that ish. It's an amazingly strong and powerful, like, having all these world figures and then these predators and then mixing it in and making you think of Drake. It's this just total mix, a total garbage plate. I'm gonna bring it back, the little garbage plate references. And then between the verses, this is like added synths and these little skitchy sounds on a guitar fret. That's what I'm talking about. He's doing so much here. And then the drums on the second verse are so good. Like, just listen again, how he's building this song. And then some ghostly keyboard, and then the bass gets louder, and there are these insane drum fills, just like these drums. You really be scaring these hoes, I scare the bros that ain't got no black friends. They say sobriety gives you a lens, but all I see is playing pretend. And then he ends the next verse. He ends that verse by previewing the next verse. Switch up the energy, cover the scars. I pledge allegiance, my hand over my heart. I pledge allegiance, I pledge allegiance. Okay, pledging allegiance. If you're not American, this is true. American school children are forced to recognize Christian God every day in school. That's what has to happen. That's what you have to do if you are an American. And if you're in the Scouts, and if you're basically anywhere, you have to acknowledge and worship a Christian God if you want to go to a public school. That's just the separation of church and state that we got going in our country. Okay? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Okay? We all have to say that every single day. We have to know it. bam, 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 bam. Now, obviously, he's a veteran as well, so he actually served the country. He actually fought. It's interesting because when he's talking about IDF, Netanyahu, and all that, he was a part of the military-industrial complex. He was in Iraq. He was a part of these things that America has done, has hurt more people than it's helped. But I pledge allegiance, and he said, switch the energy, and then he says pledge to the allegiance, and then he switches the energy of the song. Easing up, waking up, easing up, totally different part. The swirling guitar, acoustic, angelic sounds in the back. He switched up the energy. He covers the scars. And then he goes back. I'm on a mission, dressed like a mortician, I'm spitting harder than them rapist you bump. Another Drake little reference in there. And he goes on, there's like this weird Spanish sample in the middle here. Some of you grew up in castles acting like life is a hassle. And then at this point, he just starts like yelling full on punk style, just, Peggy live in the back rooms, like he's actually going like full heavy metal here. So we had like this little modular reggae bit in the middle. We have some like swirling acoustic kind of folky sounds. We had the soul sample that was then used by Wu-Tang, and all the way throughout this entire song, no matter how far the song goes away from that original sample, he'll bring that original sample like this. And then you think you'll be so far away. You think you're over here, and it's all like, I'm so tough. It keeps coming back. Like a full heavy metal bit. I don't understand it. I don't understand. And then at the end, there's strings and his real voice. Like another new part to the song. It has this real voice. F who y'all think is a champ. I treat the belt like it's vacant. And on the outro, there's a hard drum outro. Just these drums, which as far as I can tell, were not used in the rest of the song. That scratchy song comes back. And then, of course, one more time, just to remind you, just to stunt on the RZA, comes back again. Turns out from whosampled.com, one of my favorite sites. I'm actually a member there. I pay to use their services. I don't just look at the ads. Ain't No Sunshine by Michael Jackson. So Michael Jackson's version of Ain't No Sunshine, the Bill Withers song. So that was just one song. Don't worry, I'm gonna go through the rest of the album a lot quicker. But when we talk about maximal work here, I don't know what I'm gonna title this video. I'm hesitant because I call Denzel Curry's album a masterpiece. That's like my yellow flannel. That's whenever I use that word, that means I think it's at the absolute top. But it just has to be. I can't help it. I can't help it. This is another masterpiece. This is just what a year for rap music. We had the Denzel Curry, the Vince Staples, Schoolboy Q. We have this. Hell, even Vultures was super good. And that's not even counting that. That's not even in like the underground. Okay. So I'm gonna go through the rest of the album. Album opens up with, I scream this in the mirror before I interact with anyone. Again, we're back in the Pascal space. We're in the idea of the mirror as the place where he has to be. Michael Jackson as well. What does he scream? I like how that's not really clear. We have some kind of like jazz drums here. And then it breaks into heavy metal. I don't know if this is like supposed to feel like Bitchin' Camaro by the Dead Milkmen, but if you don't know the song Bitchin' Camaro by Dead Milkmen, do yourself a favor, listen to it. It's probably problematic. I haven't listened to it in a few years, and they have some songs on that album about going to the zoo, which have not aged well. And it's just great because it's this like hard sound, and then he's very consciously making references to Not Like Us because he's talking about Debo, who I guess is a basketball player who's very obnoxious. And this is the song where he says like that a couple times, and it really feels like that. And he just all these great lines, and this bridge where he says, I hate it when. I think that's supposed to be a direct reference to, Euphoria, and I hate it when you do this, I hate it when you do that. And it's just... And said, I effed his B. I said, which one? My top 5, me, and 4 Dylons. I think it was Making a Star. What was that? It was the Diddy show where they had the rapper Dylon. Anyways, I like any Dylon reference. Sin Miedo is the second song. I did a whole video about this song where I argued that maybe he's gone too far in the avant-gardometer. He didn't, but he definitely is pushing it on this song. Things I didn't mention in that video. It means without fear in Spanish. I like how it builds on the heavy metal guitar from the last song. This is that thing, I meant to mention this when I was talking about the guitar thing. The problem is this. Rappers rarely understand rock, and rockers rarely understand rap. I don't know what it is, but in order to be good in one field, you basically have to misunderstand the other. So that's why most rockers, when they try to make rap music, it sounds like garbage. You know, it sounds like, you know, I don't know what's happening in the world today, but I am here and I've got something to say. You know, it's just sort of, they don't quite get the art. And then at the same time, often rappers don't understand heavy metal, you know, and they end up, you know. I'm Lil Wayne, by the way. That's Lil Wayne, guitar solo, okay? Like they end up like that, you know? And I don't know how or why some artists are able to be in both places. Very few are. I think JPEGMAFIA is one of them. He seems to not just like know how to use rock and punk and heavy metal, he like is rock and punk and heavy metal. Cue my comments with a whole bunch of people saying, Sky, you really have to listen to Death Grips because that's the way I feel about them too. I hear you. I'm sure you're right. I'm not saying I'm right. Just release the Skyder cut, you know? And also just another rap lesson in here. There's so many rap lessons, so many R&B lessons that he's giving us because, of course, it's the Two Live Crew sample. It's all the way throughout. You know, Wu-Tang, Two Live Crew. He's showing his age, and I think it's good. Because also, like, his audience is mostly, like, people younger than me who, like, love rap music but should understand it better. So he's kind of giving you instructions. He's giving you a syllabus to understand his album. Next song is called I'll Be Right There. Kind of swirling, computery synths. What's wild is the drum beat is not smooth. It's a resetting, uncomfortable drum beat that no one can rhyme over. And then he changes the beat when he rhymes. He smooths it out. I'm telling you, listen to what this man does with drums. And this is cool because the end of the album begins very heavy metal and ends very kind of folky and soft. And this kind of announces that. This is kind of a halfway in between them. It has the sample of Jade, Don't Walk Away, which Rap Lesson was also sampled in the song Award Tour with Muhammad My Man by Tribe Called Quest. Award Tour is the name of the song. Great song. Driving the line with my mic in my hand. And then some strings are there in the verses I'm telling about. And this, how sweetly he delivers some of these lines. Y'all want none of these problems. Y'all want none of these issues. None of your people are going to miss you. You better off with the tissue. Loaded the rocket with missiles. She catching a tip like a stripper. I had my issues with my barber. You got issues with the clippers. Tying back again in with Sin Miedo with the line about, you know, I got a problem with my barber. All of that all connects. I put creativity back in the map is another thing he throws out there. Go Amber Rose on these MAGA raps. He's really watching the news. I think he watched the Republican National Convention and then released this. Talks about nepotism. There's a big theme of nepotism in here. Just as a reminder, please, I don't care where you are on the political spectrum, okay? But the question of whether or not the current presidential candidate is a DEI hire is obscene when we understand that Trump is a nepo baby, you know? His daddy was a real estate developer, and then he became a real estate developer because his daddy gave him money and connections. You know, what is it not more disgraceful to be a nepo baby? Have we no shame in this country? You know, and I'm not saying that the previous president from the Republican Party was a nepo baby. He probably wasn't. George Bush Jr. No, dude did it all on his own. Yeah, let's put these people in charge of being against affirmative action because everything has to be fair. Everything has to be even. As long as your dad was a millionaire in the field that you're in, you know, why can't you just put yourself up? God damn, I don't mean to get political. I can't help it. Next track is another rap lesson. It's Dark and Hell is Hot, a great DMX album. What's funny about this song? So, you know, I talk a lot about my family because I'm a busy dude, right? And so I listen to a lot of this music with my family. So I've listened to this, you know, my baby, who's now almost 2 years old. The first music she ever listened to was Elephant Man's Bones with Rock Marciano and Alchemist, you know, like, so she's been down with underground hip hop from the beginning. And like, seriously, this song, every time it comes on, pock, 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 she goes like, bop, 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 bop. Like, she just loves this song. So I love it. Apparently, it's from a Brazilian funk sample that he found of recent music. I gotta give JPEGMAFIA credit on something else. This dude will sample something from like a week ago. He samples recent music. It's very cool and it's very brave. And I guess it's because he went to Brazil and he got inspired. Oh, damn it. This is where I'm supposed to hold up my copy of Mad Villainy and say, hey, isn't it wild how Brazil had such an influence on rap music? We don't really fully appreciate it because, you know, Mad Villainy is heavily inspired. You know, Mad Lib was really inspired by Brazilian music when he was there and listening to it. And then, of course, also he got robbed, and so they had to do that weird thing with, you know, so like Brazil has an outsized influence on underground rap. I have a copy of Mad Villainy, but it's back there. The sample kind of goes up, this weird freaky voice. Okay. I said this album is not about samples. I said Scaring the Hose was the one about samples, but this song, how do I not talk about this album for 7 hours? Okay, I woke up at 6 in the morning so that I can record this before my baby wakes up. She's gonna be getting up. I can't stop myself. How do you stop talking about this album? This weird sample, this Portuguese, Brazilian funk thing happening that mixes in with Freaky's voice, and they just get mixed in. I said a freaky voice, I meant Freaky's voice. The way they get mixed in together, they're just inextricable. I don't understand how he does it. And then there's a new drum line and a new drum line, and they're overlaid and the voice is pitched up. And just at a certain point, please listen to this on headphones, at a certain point, he just introduces a little hi-hat in the left channel for maybe 4 bars. Why are you doing that, Jim Margaret? Why are you putting the hi-hat right there? Why are you making me, while I'm already trying to figure out how to describe the drums on this song, adding one more little element, one little touch, one flavor note to this? It's just insane. So many different segments. Buck, 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 buck. Burn, dun, dun. Oh, unbelievable. Brazil. And then he even ends it with shouting out Brazil. And let's also remember, DMX did not like Drake. So I think that's a little bit on purpose too. There's a famous scene of him, Charlemagne the God, and he's asking him all about all these rappers. And DMX is so hardcore, he doesn't even sit down for his interviews. He's just standing up and like, DMX, do you like Drake? No. he just says, no. He isn't trying to be political. He isn't like, I appreciate that other people like. He was just like, no. I don't know. I saw DMX in concert. You know, I saw the Rough Riders and Hot Boys show when they came through, which was great. But I feel like I should have appreciated DMX more. I mean, whatever, I have 3 of his albums and all the Rough Rider stuff, but still, I still feel like I did not appreciate him enough. I don't know what to do, because now comes New Black History. I don't know how I'm going to talk about this before my baby wakes up. I'm going to do my best, because this song right here has like these full-on Yeezus-style arpeggios, and then it mixes in with a sample from Future. A beautiful sample from Future, used perfectly. I hit the lottery. Future on a JPEGMAFIA project. Okay, it's a sample, but still, I wrote in here, tried to describe the drums when these real drums come in. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you that I don't know how to describe them. And this is the title, is New Black History. Why? Why do I tell all of my boomer-ass friends who are my age, I call them ex-boomers because they're Generation X-boomers, who write about how much rap sucks now because it's all mumbly and it's all trash. This is New Black History. This is Future with JPEGMAFIA and a Vince Staples. This is like mainstream rap from Atlanta, sort of borderline mainstream underground rap from California, and then the baseless JPEGMAFIA. Like this is what a time to be alive. All these things coming together. This is the excellence of modern rap music all in one. This is just, hey, shut up. I know the 90s were great. It's better now. That's why I keep telling you. Because Vince Staples is on here, and he's so laconic and so badass. It's funny, because, you know, he's from Long Beach, and I never thought of this before, but he is kind of like Snoop. Just like, he's not, you know, like, I put the twizzle in my nizzle, you know, he doesn't do any of that stuff. Like, he's not cute, but like the kind of like super chill, laconic vibe, he really has it. Like, time to show and groove, I guess. time to bust a move, I guess. Like he has that great unaffected manner. He mentions Boom Baye, which inspired a lot of my video yesterday. And then we get JPEG's verse, his most direct attack on Drake. But again, I really think that when we're attacking Drake, when there's attacks on Drake, it's what Drake represents. It's not just the man himself. It's not just the person who goes after whatever, Stranger Things, you know. It's the idea of what Drake is. When I come around, better stare at the floor because I'm in that mode. I've got that flavor. Jonathan Major Paper. Because Jonathan Major was an actor in the MCU, and he got credibly accused of a lot of assault. Convicted, maybe, even. That's too bad. I actually really liked his character. I liked his acting. I think that things would have been pretty interesting. I don't think it's more interesting that we now are going to have Robert Downey Jr.'s corpse back again. Like, but anyways, whatever. What are you going to do, you know? Especially when y'all cashing out for PDFs and RAPERS, okay? So he's used the term PDF. He's a YouTuber. This dude watches YouTube. This dude is truly online. And then he says, no Drizzy. I hope y'all paid attention. No, really, I die, I killed myself. Tell them they killed me. I think it's this fascinating idea of like, if he kills himself, it's because the world is so unjust. It's because we keep giving money to people like Drake as opposed to supporting artists like him. I don't know. And there's the future and the synths and the cash register sound. This is a lie, okay? This is a lie because I have been calling things 5s that realistically are probably just 4. Do you know why? Because at the end of this song, there is this high ringing part, which when I first heard it was absolutely off the charts. I couldn't stand it. I felt like I was in Wrath of Khan. I had one of those little, God, I'm a nerd today. I had one of those like little bugs in my ear. I was like, I can't hear it. And then the second time, I can't. And now, oh my God, I just am waiting for this part. It turns out this part, which I thought was so unlistenable, is, in my opinion, setting the bar for 5e freakouts on the absolute line of unlistenable. It is my favorite part of the album. It is maybe one of my favorite moments in all of rap music because it is so extreme. It is an absolute litmus test. It is like, oh, that's cool. You went to the dentist, your teeth feel good? Eat these fucking rocks. You know, it's like, God damn, give me a break. This beat's so hard. And I'm not even close. If I were to play it, my dog's back here would go crazy because that's so high. It's so great. Then we get to Don't Rely on Other Men, which I already did a whole video on, except now he made the song better. How? How do you take this crazy song that's like boom, 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 and you got Brian Cox from Succession as Logan Roy. Down. How are you gonna make it better? How are you gonna make it better? What does JPEGMAFIA do? He brings in strings. The man brings in strings and smooths out the end and makes it cinematic and whimsical. How the hell does he do it? This right here is a vulgar display of talent. Next song is called Vulgar Display of Power. I grew up in the 90s. Pantera was too hard for me. I just got to admit it, they were too hard for me. They were too hard. I liked them, but they were just too real. You know, I liked my heavy metal a little gentler. I liked my heavy metal, you know, I listen to it now, it's great. I saw Sepultura in concert open up for Ministry. You know, I like Ministry, but there's something about Pantera that was too much for me. But their album cover, which I'm not going to show you, I'm going to imitate a person being punched in the face really hard, that title is just perfect. And again, JPEGMAFIA, someone who I believe truly understands heavy metal and punk. Doesn't just use it, but understands it. Got this 80s rapper sample, Coked Up or Doped Up, which is from Hit 'Em Up, which is, you know, the Tupac song against Biggie's, which would support the kind of conspiracy theory that this whole thing is part of the beef, and then the whole album is actually scaring the OV hoes, and it's all about Drake. Okay, remember when I said he's like the greatest with the guitars? Let me tell you why he's the greatest with the guitars. The guitar on this song sounds terrible. It is this tone. I play guitar, not well, but I play it. I have electric guitar downstairs, whatever. Jack Stang, a Strat, I'm a dude in his 40s. If you're a dude in your 40s, if you are an employed dude in his 40s, you either have to own multiple guitars or go golfing. I chose the guitar path. But like, the tone on this guitar is exactly the tone that I try to avoid whenever I'm playing guitar. It's tinny and terrible, and he uses it. He's basically doing avant-garde guitar tones. It's at the edge of listenability. And then the verse ends, and the drums go so hard in the chorus, and then we get this line, I bring the pain, I bring the pain. Now listen, you're sitting there and you're going, I know rap history. Professor Sky, Professor Sky, Professor Sky? Yes, Aiden. I know rap history. I know that's a Method Man reference. True. I bring the pain hardcore to the brain, step inside my astral plane. Is a real song. Okay, great. Awesome. RZA beat off Takal, the first solo album from Method Man. Great. That's true. I bring the pain, I bring the pain. Obviously, that's that reference. But don't forget, he just sampled Future 2 songs ago. I bring the pain, I bring the pain. I serve the bass, I serve the bass. This is I serve the bass sample. This is both. I don't know. I do not know JPEGMAFIA, okay? What I know is that when I hear I bring the pain, I bring the pain, I hear simultaneously Method Man and Future at the same time. I am in Dirty Sprite Town, and I am in Takal Town, which is a place that very few artists can put me in. Kanye West can put me in both places at the same time. JPEGMAFIA can put me in both places at the same time. On a really good day, Travis Scott can put me in that place. That's it, okay? You can put me in either place, but to put me in both places at the same time? And then the post-chorus becomes like that's the other thing. It's like mosh pit rap. Like he knows that his audience is going to be filled with angry young white dudes, and angry young white dudes love jumping around and punching each other. I think angry young black dudes. I think angry young any dudes would like to do that. Frankly, it's just that happens to be a dance form that my people created. You're welcome, world. I'm sure we didn't. I'm sure that somehow we stole it, but still, like. It is important to have good mosh because I've been to rap concerts with my teenage son, and I've seen him dance and I've seen him mosh pit, and I'm like, well, great, I'm glad because I was growing up and I had Sam Black Church and Slapshot and all that stuff. I was at Lollapalooza in 1992 when Ministry got it so that in Great Woods in Boston, we like tore up all the grass and started a bonfire that was like 20 feet high. I know that feeling, and he's able to get that feeling. Go, 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 I will not fall. It actually reminds me of Playboy Cardi, as a matter of fact. Not for nothing, but I watch movies while I listen to albums often when I'm on the elliptical. And I happened to rewatch Fear of a Black Hat. It was on TV. It's the lesser of the 90s rap parody satire movies. But the name of their album song was Don't Shoot Till You See the Whites. And then the person says, of their eyes, and then they just don't even move. So anyways, that's a super hard title. Has any rapper actually taken that? Because I think JPEGMAFIA should do it. And then with this weird, sweet sample at the end, I said, follow yourself, and not only will we find you, you will also find me. That's another Bible reference. If you look that up, it's actually a Bible reference. I don't know where the sample's from. Then we get to ex-military. Did I mention... I don't even know what I said there. Okay. Jihad Joe. Now, some of the songs are co-produced by other people. This one's co-produced by Kenny Beats. That's interesting. When I talk about, like, It's Your Thing, Cold Grits, of one of the most famous drum samples of all time, but it's got this great feeling on there, right? Then this twinkly sounds, and he uses this growing sound, okay? That's what he does. He has a growing sound over everything. Things grow at the end of the bars. And it seems like he's really angry at his fans and his friends. I cannot take all these dick riders, my B-word addicted to hating and kissing my ass. Yeah, B-word, I know I'm too much of a narcissist. F my reputation for a bag. I can sniff out you proximity B-words. I can't be responsible. I'm not your dad. I don't know. That seems rough. It's a rough life there. He makes reference to Jihad Joe, and he referenced Jihad Joe and Sin Miedo. A lot of people are saying that that's supposed to be Joe Biden. I don't think so. It doesn't, I mean, at least that doesn't make sense to me, because like he's like the opposite, right? If anything, he would, I mean, I guess he's probably inspiring jihad, but Jihad Joe is actually a book, right? by J.M. Berger. Okay, G.I. Joe, Americans who go to war in the name of Islam. If you didn't grow up in the 2000s, you don't know about, like, there's a guy named John Walker Lint. We called him the American Taliban. He was like an American who went to war and then ended up fighting on Osama bin Laden's side. I think that's how I read it. I read it as he's a veteran who is also very critical of the American government and very critical of the system that he served, which makes him like a Jihad Joe. But I don't know. Again, I don't know his life. That's how I read it. These hard guitars, this mosh pit music, these sirens. I'm so terminally online, I don't respect myself. He's speaking to his fans. He may be talking about how he doesn't trust you, he doesn't like you, but he's like you. He may not like you, but he is like you. You get what I'm saying? Because we're all terminally online. Very relatable. Kind of a Black Sabbath outro. And then JPEG Ultra. Again, Kenny Beats, a couple other people here. This crazy horn intro. Denzel Curry does this hype up out of the trenches for you flabbergasted fat fucks. It's just a great opening line. Denzel Curry has another great verse. These drums where they come in. Don't matter which way you go, you'll still be a square like a Rubik's Cube. And this whole line about like me and JP go APE and monkey bars. It's just outstanding. Just Denzel Curry, just such a good rapper. Great, ignorant, strong lyrics. Later talks about in the Everglades and all that. and then, okay. Peggy's verse comes in. And he's drumless. There's strings, but there's no drums. He's drumless now. As far as I can tell, the only time on the album. It's be biggin' for Ish to be different until they get it. Then they treat it indifferent. People projecting they bullish because they dissatisfied with the life that they live in. I can sniff out you proximity hoes. Again, tying in the previous song. Again, all these ideas of proximity. That like everybody who's around him is somebody who he does not trust. And then he has this whole line attacking underground rappers just hanging around. And he brags about being how strong he is, about how much he makes people emotional since 2008. And there's something about the way the strings are used in here that reminds me strongly of the way that Radiohead uses strings. So you can just do what you want. And it seems like this whole verse might be attacking Frederick Gibbs, but I don't know. I don't know. Just acoustic guitar and rapping, and the end of this song announces, and the thing is, the whole album is so cohesive, it has such flow that he's bringing in some acoustic guitars and some acoustic sounds, because now we're headed towards the back half of the album where it's going to get a lot more acoustic, a lot less electric. So it starts off with these crazy strings, but then it pulls you on through, and then we get on to either on or off the drugs, and then we have this waltzy guitar, this female sample in the background, and he's basically rapping like LL Cool J, okay? And he talks a lot about drugs or not drugs and being present or not being present. He seems to be struggling with who he is as a person. Then as the second half goes, he gets way more personal on the second half of the album. I don't have no base. It's not a secret. Okay, I think he's saying he doesn't have a home base, but also he doesn't have a base of fans or doesn't have a base of people. He doesn't have a home base. It doesn't have a home. Ain't no happy house. We talking beatings. Streets in my mind is filled with demons. That's why I'm eating these B words like Sarah and Tegan, because distractions hitting every season. It's just rhyme, no reason. It's not just a facade that I can see or stand up for guys that don't believe. I'm Michael Jackson. I'm dancing in the mirror. The only one who can see me is me. With all these rich strings happening, and he's there and he's having a crisis, and he doesn't have a home. And when he thinks about his home, it's sad and it's filled with beatings. And here he is, and he's alone in the mirror, and the only person who can actually see him is himself. He's completely alone. A very sad song. And it turns out the sample is from AI. Dude, it's what? 8:30 a.m. now. My baby is definitely awake. She's just rolling around in her crib. And you're going to drop an AI sample from March 2024? You're going to make me talk about AI? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take the bait. You other music YouTubers, you do the discussion piece on AI. I'm just going to leave it with this. This is the best argument for AI's usage in rap music. Better. Oh my God. Is this trying to be like an imitation and a conversation to BBL Drizzy? Is that what this is? God damn it, it is, isn't it? It is. I'm going to turn to Charlie Day here. It's all connected, okay? It's all connected. Anyways, if this is what rappers do with AI samples, then give us the AI samples. You know, he doesn't have to clear it. He's doing interesting things with it. The voice, the vocal decisions that this robot is making are outstanding. The vocals are very interesting and very well made. If this is what rappers can do with AI producers, then, you know, as long as there's somebody interesting making it, well, who am I to say? Which makes sense because the next song is called Loop It and Leave It. It's like he's having a little discussion about that. Liberal feelings is delicate. It's true. They are. Amazing harp and tinkling sounds, these drums. Okay. I just wrote, okay, so these are my notes. I tried to write goddamn. I ended up writing God, okay? And yeah, I was watching Hoosiers with Dennis Hopper. God damn, that's a good movie. Ever see Hoosiers? Back in the 80s, man, you could have a balding Gene Hackman as a leading man in a movie and make money. Like a balding, sad Gene Hackman walking around trying to get people to play basketball. And people were like, more please. Anyways. But when these drums come in and this bass that's slightly behind, this is the thing. Where do I start and where do I stop? Because if I sat with this album for another week, like I would have more moments like this that I'm just waiting for. Just the way these drums come in. Does anybody use drums better than JPEGMAFIA? I just don't know. Kind of a modern style chorus. Ball on me. Hey, ball on me. There's a lot of XXX Tentacion in this album. I said it. I said it. I think he's inspired by X, by Playboi Carti. I think he's taking inspiration from a lot of people who we are supposed to think are above him. I really feel that here. At a certain point, we hear like a TV sound in the background, if it's a wrestling match, or I think maybe I saw online it was a Knicks game. That ties together in pretty nicely with the Ghost Pop tape. I know liberals' feelings is delicate. Fly the plane when you feed them their medicine. And that's important, you know, because it's true, because it's hard. Because, you know, when you're dealing with white liberals, we all want to feel like we're always right all the time, and we all want to feel like we've never done anything wrong, and we all want to feel like we're not the colonizers, and we all want to feel this way. And people who are telling the truth to us, we have all the power, right? White liberals have all the power, because usually white liberals are people who have an education, have money, have access to power, have all the benefits of white supremacy, but at least state that they don't want those benefits, you know? So it makes us very fragile. It makes us very delicate. Have pity on the poor white liberal. I'm not saying that. This is a beautiful image for the rest of my life, because it's like how you feed it. Oh, by the way, if you have kids, don't do this. Don't ever try to force a baby to eat. The way you feed babies now, by the way, it's way better than it used to be. No baby food, just whatever you're making, you give it to them, put it on a plate, they pick it up, make a mess, make sure that, you know, don't have them wear any clothes, just have them just eat like that so you can wash them afterwards. You don't ever do that stuff. That's how we get bad eating habits. But the idea is that's how you feed babies, is you say, here comes the airplane, and then you feed the, right? What a beautiful lyric. Like, anyways, I do a lot of teaching about African-American history, about Black history, and I'm pretty close with the faculty in the African-American Studies department at my college that I do not represent, but where I teach. And I'm going to tell them this line. I'm going to be like, liberals' feelings is delicate, fly the planes, and you feed them their medicine. Because I imagine that this line is so relatable to any Black person who has to deal with white liberals on a consistent basis. This lyric is about me, it's not for me, but I can appreciate. Okay. Don't put anything on the Bible featuring Buzzy Lee. Okay. Much like Jim Rice, this is coming out of left field. Where is this coming from? Oh my God, there's a fox in my backyard. Ah, he's beautiful. Big bushy tail. I would turn the camera around, but he'll be gone by the time you see it. Anyways, ADD is a real thing. Where is this coming from? Much like that fox came out of the woods, out of absolutely nowhere. Like, this is just, but it doesn't come out of nowhere because the acoustic guitars and the strings have been here. But it starts off with what I think is a wrestler saying, oh yeah, and these bongos, oh yeah, and then this hiss of this acoustic guitar, and the angels in back. And it just feels like this gauzy 70s. If you've seen the trailer for the album, you know, it has this kind of gauzy, overlit feeling, like a 70s horror movie before everything goes bad. And then there's this whole singer, she's singing so sweetly. It's like, is this Clairo? Like, what's happening here? I'm like floating. I'm doing that thing. You know that meme of SpongeBob listening to music and he's floating up? I'm floating here with this right here. It's unbelievable. And then this acoustic guitar comes in with a sloppy drum line out of nowhere. And Peggy's actually sensual. I should have held my tongue. I should have kept it going. I want love like water through me. I should have poured my honey slowly. Is that a JPEGMAFIA lyric? I should have poured my honey slowly. And it's cinematic, and it gets like, you know, like the second guitar comes in, it becomes like a bolero, it becomes like a bullfighting thing. And then like the verse switches, and he's like, okay, I think in the song he's trying to rap like Kendrick, rapping like Drake at a certain point, and he goes back to this personal side about the mirror. He's once again in front of the mirror. He's once again confronting the difficulty in his life. The women are gone, as we'll see in the next song, because he loses them, okay? The people around him he can't trust because they're proximity hoes. That leaves him alone. What does he see? I used to work for pennies on the minute, hunger from struggle, stayed up because I live it, worked on the muscle, flex on all you B words. I can't defend this bitch up in the mirror. I'd rather ask forgiveness than permission. He can't defend the person who he sees. Even though this album is a lot of him stunting, saying how he's the greatest, and you know, let's face it, he might be the greatest. And then more production. These nice high voice comes back in with these strings and this scrubbled sound. It becomes weird and unpleasant. And then it ends with I recovered from this. The whole album has a feeling. It starts off in the mirror, then just ends in the mirror. I recovered from this. What has he recovered from? He's recovered from what? He's recovered from being so lonely for all the reasons I just said. He's recovered from all the white supremacy that's around him. He's recovered from being a veteran. He's recovered from all these things. This weird reinterpretation of a Janet Jackson song. Janet Jackson song, because this is also a soul music lesson, because we've had Michael Jackson, we've had Janet Jackson, we've had Jade, okay? But it's like sung by like an Irish choir. By the way, have you ever listened to the original song, Funny How Time Flies When You're Having Fun? Or Funny How Time Flies, I forget what it's actually called. It ends with Janet Jackson speaking French, kind of like doing little orgasm noises. That's a lot hotter than I remember. This whole like more acoustic guitar. And what I love about this, okay, I want to end everything with maybe my best point. In like a lion, out like a lamb, right? That's an expression that exists. I think it's about the month of March, okay? So it comes in super like nasty, the weather is super tough, and at the end it's very delicate. Musically, this album comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. It comes in with that song with the jazz and then see man, big ho, what's up with it, right? And then as it ends on this kind of softer thing here with the don't put your Bible, you know, and then here. But emotionally, it comes in like a lamb and out like a lion. Because when he's talking about big booty hoes, you know who he's not talking about? He's not talking about himself. When he's talking about other people, you know who he's not talking about? He's talking about not talking about himself. This is him finally in the mirror. So the album begins with the song, I Scream in the Mirror. And it's sort of the most empty intellectually or spiritually. And then it ends with I made it through this, which is really a description of the difficulty of how he feels with himself when he looks in the mirror. Look, my B word never got taken from me. I lost for myself. My B word never got comfort from me. I needed too much help. I can't do 1 hour a week. I think I need more help. I don't think I need no more fixing. I'll just heal myself. Who's going to be there when you low, you or somebody else? My actions got way too active. I don't need no more help. 1 hour a week ain't enough for me. I think I need a friend. Everyone I dated deserves better. Bleep. Okay, I could go on. I'm going to stop. Let me tell you why. This is it though, okay? This is it. This is the last lyric I'm going to describe on this album. Some people said, hey, I think this album's kind of empty lyrically. I understand, but I think it's because it's the play. It's the play of empty and full. This is so full because he's talking about losing women, losing people who are nearby him. They aren't taken. He loses them through it. And the way that he describes it, if you ever have people who you know and you love and need help, this is exactly how they talk. They don't talk in reason. They talk like cornered animals, okay? You ever talk to an addict, Okay, you ever talk to an addict, they're like, no, it's not, I mean, no. I mean, I know everyone says they can stop, but I really can't stop. It's just that, it's a kind of thing that I like to do pretty consistently because, I got a lot of stress, but I probably should stop, but I don't need to. I shouldn't need to. I don't really have to. I do have a problem. I admit that I have a problem. Just right now is not the time for me to take care of it because I don't have a problem, okay? That right there, that's what it's like talking to an addict. That's how it is talking to someone who needs therapy too, okay? Like, I can't do 1 hour a week. I need more. And then he says, I don't need any more fixing. Like, that's the reality. That's the reality of pain. That's the reality of emotional pain. This is deeper. This is deeper than where most rappers go, because most rappers will just say that they're traumatized. He's talking about being traumatized while displaying the conflict that comes about through his inability to process his own trauma while he's looking at himself in the mirror. Okay? So I'm going to do thumbs up, thumbs down with whether or not he's going to get help. I can't do 1 hour a week. I think I need more help. I don't think I need no more fixing. I'll just heal myself. My actions get too active. I don't want no more help. 1 week ain't enough for me. I think I need a friend. Everybody ever dated deserves a better. So now he needs a friend. He understands he needs connection. He does therapy. He's totally lost. This is inchoate. This is not clear what he's saying. The jumble of the album, the jumble of the genres and the drums and the guitar and everything, it seems to be reflecting this inability to focus on what he actually needs. He describes himself as this. Listen to this emo-ass lyric. I've been stuck in a car with the child lock, trying to break out and answer the call. Can you hear it? Actual love, actual heart, actual caring? Listen. Women are not hoes, right? If you look up in a dictionary, the definition of hoes are people who do not appreciate JPEGMAFIA's production style. Look it up. It's in there, all right? But like, if we were to accept the idea that like his music is not feminine enough, not that femininity is anything other than a social construct designed to further patriarchy and keep women down. But still, has Drake ever sung a lyric more emotionally true or heart-searching than I've been stuck in a car with a child dog trying to break out and answer the call? Can you hear it? Actual love, actual heart, actual caring? And then he says, girl got me breaking like this, can't believe, but it's not the girl that got him breaking like this, because he told you in the beginning, if a girl ever gets taken from me, I lost her. Okay, the girl didn't get him breaking like this. He lost her by his own actions, and he knows that, and he both accepts that and doesn't accept that, because that's the reality of depression. That's the reality of self-destructive behavior, is you know it and you don't know it at the same time. The art of therapy, the art of self-improvement is just knowing it, is just sitting with your failures and not thinking that it means you're a failure, but just learning that's something you can work on and you can get better at, and then moving forward. But he's stuck in this state of not being able to do it. The girl doesn't have him breaking like this. He has him breaking like this. He can't believe it, and then he just bails out. Then he's like, "Okay, that's the end of the album. I can't do it anymore." That's that. I can't. I've been working on this for too long. So yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out some way to put masterpiece in the title. It's kind of a stupid convention. I may change that. These are my Patreons. They help me to buy music. I'm probably gonna buy this album. God damn, I love this album. It's just so good. I ask my Patreons, no matter what level they are, if they would like a shout out. I got the most requests ever. Maya Weberan, she said it's pronounced like German. Weberan. Super Cammy, Jack Dyson, Josh Burcham said this is a contender for best Peggy album. This is my favorite Peggy album I've heard, but I haven't really sat with Veteran or Cornball, so I'll have to check this out. Toby Repellent. That's Toby right there. Toby Repellent wants a shout out. Moritz Lutz, Dominic Rufino, Jonathan Nodder says he prays every morning for a shout out. I know don't know exists, in reference to a line from the album. Andrew Thompson, of course, Zach, and Nut says he would lay down his life for a shout out. I don't feel like that's actually his name, so I apologize. I think maybe it auto-corrected. Nut? Is that really your name? Anyways, I gotta go take care of my baby. I gotta take care of my my whole life. But tell me what you think of the album. Do you think this is his best work? Is he still the best producer? Is this the best album of the year? Is it all just about Drake and I didn't decode it properly? Have you ever had a garbage plate? Answer all these questions and more. There's the camera.